Welcome to session 6 of Holy Mess. Today we are talking about the mess of rejection, and we're meeting a young woman by the name of Leah. I don't know about you, but I think we all have some point in our life where we can pinpoint a time where we felt unwanted, unloved, and rejected by others. Maybe it's friends, maybe it's even family. Maybe you have some deep hurting wounds of rejection in your life. Whatever it might be, I hope that as we walk through this story a little bit today, that you will be encouraged. Not by my words, but because of what God has to offer you. So we see this story open with Jacob. He is on the run, essentially, after tricking his father and tricking his brother. And so we know his mother has sent him off to find a wife in her home country, in her homeland. And he ends up at the well where he meets this beautiful, beautiful woman by the name of Rachel. And we know that he and Rachel exchange a moment at the well, and he falls in love with her. But then we meet another woman by the name of Leah. And we know that scripture is not as favorable in its description of what she looked like. So I imagine she wasn't as beautiful as Rachel was. But we go on to see this story, and I could only begin to imagine what life might have been like for Leah in the shadow of a beautiful sister. I don't have sisters. I have 3 older brothers, and that was enough for me. I can only imagine what her father may have treated her like, or what she may have experienced. A girl her age should have been married off already. She should have a family of her own, and that was not the case. So we see Laban and Jacob strike a deal for him to be able to marry Rachel. But we see Jacob gets a little bit of a taste of his own medicine at Leah's expense. This man who tricked his father and brother was tricked into marrying a woman that he did not want. And Leah was stuck in the middle of all of that. So not only was she unwanted and unloved and felt unseen by her family, she was now married to a man who felt the same way. He did not want her. He did not love her. You know, when I think about rejection and I think about the stories that we tell and the vulnerability that we share when we sit at the table with someone and we talk to them about the things that have happened in their lives, I'm reminded of this fact. Not every story is our story to tell. Not everything that happens in our life is for us to advertise and share with others. You know, when I wrote this chapter, there were so many things that I could have shared, so many things that I could have said. But I knew in that place that those stories were not just mine. And I did not have the freedom to share everything that I really walked through in the face of rejection. But what I want you to know is that I understand what it means to really be rejected and to be hurt. And I think Leah really understood this as well. So we see that she's now married to this man who doesn't really love her and doesn't really want her. And he wants her sister. So we see him strike another deal to make Rachel his wife. But God looked favorably upon Leah. He opened her womb and shut Rachel's womb and gave Leah children. He gave her sons. And I love this so much because we know that the line of Christ comes forth out of this woman who was rejected and unwanted. But God saw her. He saw her in the midst of all of that. And he said, Leah, I love you. I see you. I want to use you for my holy purposes. And that's exactly what he did. And I love the way she names her sons because it allows us to see this truth, It allows us to see that God is working in her life. She names her first son in hopes that her husband will love her more. Her second son, even more so, that her husband would finally love her because he gave her a son. But then we see that her mind and her idea shifts of what God is doing in her life. And she sees that God is the most important person in her life. It doesn't matter if she is unseen or unwanted or unloved. What matters is what God says about her. And God says she is seen and she is loved and she is useful and she has hope. So we know the story goes on, and Leah spends her life still in the shadow of her younger sister, who is far more loved by Jacob than she is. But she has something that Rachel doesn't. She has the opportunity to be a part of the line of Christ through her son, Judah. It's so powerfully evident that God loved this woman to allow her to be a part of his grander plan. So my challenge to you this week is this. Whatever you've walked through in this life, whatever you have faced, whatever hurt and rejection you have felt, nothing is too big for God. He sees you, he loves you, he values you, and he wants to use your life for his bigger story.